These days, it's tough to go a couple of weeks without seeing a sequel at the cinema, but with many of them, they don't live up to the original film. So, how does Rise of the Silver Surfer compare to the original Fantastic Four? On many occasions, when it comes to a sequel, the idea is to go bigger and bolder and hopefully be better than the original film. A lot of times that doesn't work out, and with Rise of the Silver Surfer, it's definitely another one of those scenarios where we have Galactus involved this time, someone who destroys planets, so it's a bigger threat. We also have the Fantastic Four going to different countries, like they're in London at one point. Taking on the Silver Surfer, and even Jessica Alba's appearance. I mean, she's gone blonder and her eyes are bluer, looking like she's about to be called up by Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 3. Now, first, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the cloud in the room with Galactus. This is one of the only things I knew about the movie going in, that people were very upset with Galactus being basically a cloud throughout the whole film. His outline does appear at one point, but that is it. And apparently they were going to bring him back in the future films that did eventually get cancelled because this film didn't do well enough critically, and also the box office was lower than the original film. Because also they were planning to do a Silver Surfer movie, which I think they were going to have Galactus more as a prominent role in that film. But it's the sort of thing we've seen a lot recently, actually, where you're holding back your villains or your the big characters for a later date. Why would you ever do that? Recently we had Ironheart, where Mephisto was only in the last episode and that was it. And then also Star Wars and the Acolyte, Plagueis was shown in the last episode. But if you have all this at your disposal, why not use it? Not save it for a later date when you're not guaranteed survival for either a second season or another sequel. So it is a bit of an odd choice. I mean, the only thing I could say is that, yes, they might not be able to have the technology to bring him to life, but if that's the case, then just don't do it. From one huge negative to one huge positive, and the Silver Surfer was pretty cool. Voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, again, great choice. And he was just really intriguing. Like, every scene with him, I'm like, what's he all about? He didn't have many voice lines, but when he does speak, you do listen. There is like a whole exposition scene which takes place on his stomach, which was a bit weird. But other than that, yeah, I thought he was well brought to life in the film. With the origin of the Fantastic Four now out of the way, we can easily jump back in with the characters, and this time we're seeing Reed and Sue trying to get married, but at every attempt there's some sort of chaos that arises, which means they can't, and so Sue's having worries that it may never work with Reed because they can't have a normal life and have a normal family. And then you've got Johnny on the side, he's looking at everyone around him with Reed and Sue, and also with Ben and Alicia, that he's the only one on his own, and he's constantly getting rejected as well. So it's like, what's going to happen for him in terms of his future? And then in terms of Ben, there's not really much of his character because apparently they were saving a lot of him and Alicia for the third film. So he's a bit more on the sidelines this time round. Once again, the Fantastic Four's superpowers are the source for many of the comedy moments. And after Johnny's interaction with the Silver Surfer, he gains the ability to be able to swap his powers. And as we can see here, he becomes a thing, and Ben becomes the Human Torch. But if he touches him again, he goes back to normal. And so, yeah, that's used for laughs, but also for the action scenes. You're like, hold on, Donnie better be very careful here, otherwise he could mess everything up, which he eventually does. So it is another element in there for you to think about when it comes to them getting out of tricky situations as well. So, I actually enjoyed this as an inclusion. There is also the usual comedy moments like we saw in the first film, where it's just them doing something a bit mundane, like with Sue with her spot on her head. She uses her invisibility to cover it up. Johnny also asks a burning question to Ben about how he and Alicia get it on, and we don't get any answer from him, but it is a question you do think about, like, okay, how does that all work?
That's none of your business.
Okay, all right, I'm just concerned. I'd hate to wake up one morning and find out she was killed in a rock slide.
I'll show you a rock slide.
Victor Von Doom does return in this film and even teams up with the Fantastic Four. And it's something we've seen a few times, like even in X-Men, like with X-Men 2, Magneto joins the X-Men to help take down Stryker. And it's something we've seen in quite a few different franchises as well, where the first film's villain will be useful to the heroes in the second film, and so teams up. And as expected, it doesn't take long until we see Doctor Doom again as he takes the surfboard, and everything again with Doctor Doom was pretty underwhelming and just bad. It just wasn't good. Like the fight scene with him and Johnny, with Johnny having all different powers, just was very underwhelming. And even a bit silly, really, with the whole crane thing with Ben. Like, how did that even happen? Like, that was all so silly and stupid. So yeah, second film in a row where Victor Von Doom hasn't worked out, and Doctor Doom has just been awful. So yeah, it's understandable why people don't like these movies. Like the villains in the films are just awful.
You surprise me to how shit you are. Oh, thank you.
Tim Story directed the film like he directed the original, and I feel like with both these movies, there are good intentions behind them to make a fun film, and I think he did get the tone right, but the writing is just so poor. And I think that the sequels is even worse than the original. Like, there's even one point where we have Ben having to go at Johnny because he was saying about the Silver Surfer, and he was like, "What are you talking about? What sort of nonsense is that?" You know, it's like, says the guy who is a rock person. Like, what do you mean? Is it really that crazy that he saw someone flying around on a surfboard, you know, as a silver man? Like, I don't think so. And then also, even with the Silver Surfer, like, eventually he's the one who takes down Galactus, but there wasn't really anything they've done to the Silver Surfer that has changed for him not to have done that before. Because he says he doesn't kill Galactus because he wants to make sure his planet is safe, but he could have already have done that. Like, he could have already gone against Galactus, but I guess he just needed that push to do it. But it doesn't feel very satisfying by the end of it when he takes down Galactus anyway. And he's not dead. I mean, you know, you're not sure if he's alive or not, but we see in the end credit scene that he is alive because that was supposed to set up the spin-off film. But this film, more than the original, just feels like there's been much more thrown at it. And so for a film that's around an hour and a half runtime, it is mercifully short and so quite easy just to watch as a guilty pleasure. To highlight how quickly this film zips by, after the Silver Surfer's surfboard is taken by Doctor Doom, the Thing does like a recap to make sure that everyone's up to speed with what's going on.
Got a giant intergalactic force that's about to destroy our planet in less than 24 hours. Did I miss anything?
So looking at both films, I do think the first one was better constructed, but with this sequel, it was a lightweight experience where it flows by on screen and also flows by your head. The Silver Surfer does stand out as the best thing about it, and the villains, once again, were one of the worst things. And I think depending on how invested you are with those characters will determine how pissed off you are with the movie. Also, I have to mention, it was great to see Andre Braugher in this film, who many of you will know from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. He was great as the General in the movie. So overall, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is not a great film, but it is now one of my new guilty pleasure watches, I have to admit. But what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy it more than the original or the other way around? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video as well if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and may even do a Fant 4 stick review if I can be bothered, because I've heard that's really awful, but I might give it a watch. But until then, watch another video on screen if you like with one of my recent reviews.